Sharma, thank you for joining us tonight. This is about the clip that is going viral. Western media's bias that is at play again. Your thoughts?
Firstly, I'd just like to say it was like watching a professor berating an undergraduate who has presented facts or presented a hypothesis which is very weak on facts and full of innuendo and inference. I think that it was a masterclass. Minister Puriji demonstrated how one can respond to such shallow and quite offensive questioning, but maintain grace and dignity. You know, it always works on two levels, doesn't it? In our tradition, we share facts, hoping that by sharing facts, we become closer together and that the wider world knows and learns something more. Whereas the BBC tradition is actually one of humiliation. One thing I felt watching it, you could see that the body language, the demeanor, the arrogance, the condescension, it was all intended to try and disturb Minister Puriji and reduce him into a fumbling, mumbling sort of presentation, and he failed miserably. So I'm delighted that we're getting such a clear opportunity to see the manner in which the BBC does actually function. Just to share with you, I used to be interviewed by the BBC quite regularly. Until one event, the Leicester event, occurred. They invited me and interviewed me, and I recorded at my end the full interview. And when they broadcast it, all of the elements where I had successfully rebutted and even got the opposition to agree with the point I was presenting, they edited them out. And so I presented the full interview to them. And after that, they've never invited me to grace their halls since.
You thought it was a similar pattern that was repeated on how Mr. Puri was being cut again and again, despite the fact that he was saying that it is a one-sided argument that the interviewer is presenting. And for someone like you, who's exposed the propaganda against India and Hinduism multiple times, you yourself have said that you've raised it to the highest level, but they continue to target us.
They will continue to target us, and there's a very simple reason. They colonized the moral high ground a long time ago, and they have lost all other ground. The only ground left to them is the moral high ground. And so this has now become almost hardwired. And to be honest, I have a little bit of sympathy with Simon Saka, because the time that he grew up in was a time when it was perfectly acceptable for the white men to be arrogant and condescending, just as a modus operandi, and it used to serve them. Whereas now it's a little bit dated. It's almost 19th century, and you know we need to move forward. But there is an element of a dinosaur thrashing around the last throes of an extinct being before it disappears and is consigned to the dustbin of history. Yeah, and watching it, I felt it was quite discourteous in that when you have a senior government minister who is willing to share hard evidence and factual data, the moment it's presented and it contravenes the narrative you want to present, you jump in and very rudely, I thought, interrupt. That's not the manner in which a courteous exchange between decent human beings occurs. That's the manner in which somebody who has assumed the authority of an advocate, of a barrister whose intention is to berate and whose intention is to try and aggressively diminish the person in front of them. I felt, if you rewatch it, what I felt was that Simon Saka's whole demeanor and the way he conducted himself was an ad hominem attack. The whole thing was an ad hominem attack on the person of the minister. And we all say this, don't we? The moment you have to resort to ad hominem attacks, you've already admitted defeat.
I want to thank you for speaking to us tonight.